Good morning, folks. I'd like to talk today about revenue centers and expense centers. A revenue center is something that brings you in revenue. This is something that people pay money to, and it goes ahead and generates profits. An expense center is something that does not necessarily bring in money, but it might be something that you have to have. An example of which would be to have clean bathrooms, to have a website that is easy to navigate, to have the lights on when people come in the door. You want to have as few expense centers as you possibly can while still maintaining the level of service that you need to have. And sometimes you're going to say, well, that it's not a revenue center, but I need to have that. Before you go ahead and make that statement, ask yourself, do I really need to have that? I have an example. I worked for a company, and we worked in downtown Orlando. The rent there was very, very high. We could have just as easily been outside of downtown Orlando and paid 1/3 to 1/4 of the rent. Why do we do that? Because of prestige. You have to ask yourself, do you have a company that doesn't need to be in a prime retail rental position? Can you be in an office park? Can you be in a wholesale park? What can you do to go ahead and cut down your cost? Do you need to have an office? There are some people that have businesses that they can do this from home and have everything over the internet. They don't need to be in an office park. Whenever you're looking at an expense center, always ask yourself, do I need this in order to stay in business? Do I need this to increase my credibility? Do I need this to increase future sales? Does it help drive profits to my business, or is it just an expense? If it's just an expense, can you consider getting rid of it? There's going to be some employees that are like that too. What you always want to do is every year or every 6 months, you want to go through your employees and you want to ask yourself, what value do they bring? If they don't bring value, if an employee doesn't generate at least twice their salary in benefits, in sales, you have to ask yourself, are they worth keeping? Because if they don't, they're an expense. So one of the best ways to lower your expenses is to go through your employees and see which people are working and which people are generating revenue and which people are not generating revenue. If they're costing you money, maybe it's time to get rid of them. I don't mean to go ahead and say fire everybody, but go through and every now and then get rid of those people that aren't working. And you can take some of those savings and put those back in the profits, or you can go ahead and give a bonus to make everybody else happy. But sometimes you have to remove a cancer. Let's talk about revenue centers. When you're looking at your business, you always want to ask yourself, what are the revenue centers that have the highest profit margin and bring the most profit to my business? Those are the ones that are your core competencies as your business. And what you want to do is you want to have as many of those as you possibly can, so that you have a lot of columns that support your business. And you want to take a look at, if I'm going to have these, do I need to have a ton of these on hand, or can I go ahead and drop ship them? For instance, let's say that one of your biggest sellers is something that is a very expensive item. Let's say it's a $15,000 item. Rather than having 4 or 5 of those in stock, could you go ahead and have a sample, or maybe just have a catalog and show people, this is what it looks like. I can have it to you as soon as you pay within 3 days. You don't necessarily have to have some of those items in stock, and the way you get around that is you say, what we can do is we can customize this so you get exactly what you want. That way you don't have to floor plan things and have an expense center that's eating up all of your profit on some of your larger profit margin items. So with everything that you do, you want to look at each item and say, can I reduce the expenses? Can I maximize more revenue? How can I do this in a way that will keep the same level of revenue, but lower my expenses? How can I do this in such a way that will keep the same level of expenses, but it will raise my revenue? How can I go ahead and increase my total profit? It's not always about having more sales. Sometimes it's also about lowering your expenses, because they don't tax you on the money that you save. You can go ahead and make a lot more profit by cutting expenses than you can by driving up revenue, unless you have a corresponding amount of profits to go along with it. You always have to know your numbers. If you haven't gone over this with your accountant and just really analyze this and seen how you can possibly get bigger discounts, see how you can go ahead and pay within 10 days rather than 30 days and get a discount, see how if you paid cash, would you get a bigger discount. Always renegotiate and always be looking to get the best deals you possibly can, because every business out there, almost every business, will negotiate with you if you're a loyal customer, and in order to keep your business, they might go ahead and lower your expenses. So negotiate all the time.